how to plant potatoes for maximum harvest. G'day folks, Greg here from Small Space Produce. Still a bit croaky, currently sick at the moment, but did not want to fall behind because these spuds are ready to get themselves in the ground. So if you saw our earlier video sprouting potato, you would have seen how we got from some fairly old seed potatoes to this point where we're now prepping them to go in the ground. And you might remember there were some long sort of white shoots forming, a bit like when you leave your potatoes sitting in the cupboard for too long and they start sending these long sprouts. People think they're great, but they're not great. Okay, those have been chasing the light really badly. They're very brittle and they don't do as well. So we snap them off and we let these ones sit in a nice cool room around about 10 degrees, but really don't have to be that fussy, but in a nice light room where they got lots of light. And what we can see now is all these beautiful little bit of growth starting to form now, and they're green, they're nice and chubby, they've got really good strength to them. You can even see the little flowers just starting to, leaves starting to form on those. So they look really fantastic, much more appropriate and exactly what we hoped for. So how do we now go from this bit to getting them into the ground? So look, we could just plant these whole, absolutely. So if we were going to plant them whole, we just make sure that the best eye is pointing upwards, so that way we can pop them in and they'll start growing upwards. So the placement will make a bit of a difference. However, what we like to do is obviously maximise the amount of potatoes that we get from these potatoes. So we're going to investigate every single one of these and we're going to see where we might be able to get two for the price of one. So let's take this little fella here as an example. Okay, we've got about 4 different eyes on him, but we've got 2 really good main ones that are starting to shoot out some nice shoots. But most importantly, there's a nice sized gap between them. So if we're to cut this down the middle, we essentially create 2 potatoes instead of 1, and both of them will grow in their own right. Okay, but we don't want those eyes to be too close together and those roots to be too close together, otherwise we could cause them damage. So being very careful of fingers. Got a nice sharp knife here as well. Slice that one straight down there, and we've got ourselves 2 potatoes instead of 1. Okay, then of course, what's very important is we don't just go throwing those in the ground, because right now that's open. It's open to disease, it's open to pests and things. So what we want is for that to sort of cure over and form a nice protective layer. So I've heard things like sulfur and cornstarch and all sorts of things to speed up the process, and that may well work. But for me, I find it easier just to get a nice little tray like this one, just like your classic sort of oven style tray, and essentially just pop that somewhere where the potatoes can sit on there and get a little bit of airflow through, and they'll simply dry over the next 2 to 3 days. And once these have got a nice leathery layer on them, they're good to go in the ground. So let's pick another one here. We better stick to the same. I can't remember which one I got it from. I think it was this one over here. So, okay, another beauty here. In fact, let's find one that doesn't have 2. Okay, one like this one here, I mean, we're probably just leaving that as is. It does have 2, okay, it's got another little one on the side there, but we're probably not going to muck around with him too much. We'll still get good spuds out of that one. So he will remain. Okay, but then we have a look at these 2 here. So this one's quite an interesting one. In fact, we might come back to him. Here's another nice simple one with 2 really clearly defined strong points. So again, we want to make sure each of them have got enough sort of meat behind them, I guess, to be able to grow nicely. There we are, my little friends, doubling up, 2 for the price of 1. Now what we've got here is a potential triple or even quadruple banger. Woo! So you could really push it if you wanted to, but again, look, we're not going to push it too much here. We may go for 3 with this one, I think. So if we go, okay, nice meaty bit there. Okay, nice meaty bit there. There we go, and then each of those eyes has still got a nice chunk of spud to feed it and get it through. All right, so you get the idea. We can just keep going through all of these various ones here and keep doing that. Okay, so I'm just going to then basically go through all these, leave these 2 dry nicely for 2 to 3 days. Then we're going to come back to you here. I'll show you what they look like when they're nice and leathery, and then we're going to show you how we plant these. So not only the positioning, okay, but the hilling technique and how we're just going to plant them with just a couple of inches of soil to work with first of all, and how we then plan that to get as many spuds from each of these little pieces as we can. So sit tight for now, and I'll just show that up once more there so you can sort of see how shiny and glossy that is and why we don't want in the ground just for now. And then sit tight for just a few days, folks, while these ones cure over, and we'll be right back. Alright folks, it's been 3 days and our little potatoes have nicely cured. So they've come up beautifully. So as we showed you just before we ended a couple of days ago, the really glossy side, this unprotected side where we cut the potato that we didn't want to rot, essentially when we planted them in the ground. We wanted to just chop them and let them cure before we plant them so they're nicely protected. So we'll zoom in right there on that and you can see all of that sheen is gone. We've got that nice little eye there zooming up beautifully. But now the side here feels very much like the top, so it's got a beautiful protective layer. So the next really important step is how we plant them. And look, this year we're doing a couple of trials. We're using a few different styles of grow bags as well as comparing against a good honest pot. So I've got the beautiful pink eyes here, but what we want to show here is the art of hilling. And we will do more videos on this, but make sure when you're starting your potatoes, don't fill these right up with dirt and then plant these underneath, because you are going to waste a huge amount of potential harvest, a huge amount of produce. What you want to do is just fill your grow bags or your pot with just a couple of inches of really nice, well-draining potting mix. Then you're going to plant your potatoes. Then just put just another couple of inches on top, enough so they're nicely snug, a bit of a potato sandwich between the soil, okay? And then as that starts to grow and you see those new shoots coming through, let them grow a little bit. We're then going to come back with more soil, and we're going to add more soil until there's just a little bit of that sprout sticking out again, okay? And then that's going to grow up further, and then we'll do the same, and we'll add more soil until these are full and our potato plants are sticking right up the top. Now the reason we call it hilling is of course each time we add a hill, but what happens is each time that potato grows it shoots out a new set of roots, and on that new set of roots is more potatoes, and that's what we're growing for. Why not maximize your harvest? Okay, so don't just fly in or just throw them in any old pot that's already got soil in them. Okay, start with just a couple of inches. Now, how many would you plant in a grow bag like this? Look, it really varies. Some people would say strictly 4. Others really load them up and say sort of 8 or 9, even 10, and as long as you look after them and give them enough water and you know, make sure they're nicely spaced, there's enough room to grow. Personally, I like to go sort of somewhere in the middle, usually around about 5. So I sort of do a few around the outside and then one smack bang in the middle. So look, again, it's going to be quite hard to see here, but we'll go with this sort of see-through bag. You can see we've got a couple of inches of soil in there. We're going to select our potatoes, make sure that the eye or the growth is pointing upwards, and we're just going to place probably 5 of those in this one, I reckon, and these are our delicious pink-eye potatoes, a real specialty in Tasmania. We're just going to make sure that that little one, the root, is pointed nicely upwards, just like that, and nice and secure. Okay, so we're now going to go ahead and we're going to do the same with all of our bags as well as our pots. So no different between them, a couple of inches, about 5 potatoes with the eyes pointing upwards, then another layer on top. Then we're simply going to water them in, and then we wait for that growth to happen, and then we start the hilling technique. So keep an eye out. We will make a video as we hill these ones up as well. But in the meantime, hopefully that's given you some tips on how to really maximize your produce, from very beginning to making sure you grow those nice green roots the right way, all the way through to prepping those potatoes, to how to plant them using the hilling technique, and get ready for some delicious spuds. They are our absolute favourite. So this has been Greg from Small Space Produce and how to prepare potatoes for planting.